Hello once again. My name is James, and I want to have another discussion I wanted to talk about concerning with the latest deal with this DACA, about the young parents of immigrants who come to this country, and the big thing would get caught with the course with the Trump administration and things like that. This would be interesting topic. It's not to tear down, but it's to provide a solution. When let me give you a short story. When you get some people from some countries from like far out east, whether it's China, whether it's Japan, whether it's it could be somewhere near the United Arabs. You could get somebody in Yemen, Jordan, in one of those places where they have a corporation. When they want to come to America, they have certain companies that would send employees, and they would see if they can work out some deal with their schooling, and part of it that they can do an internship at an American company. So the education and the upgrade of what they learn in America and how the way the Americans have taught these individuals is able to take the necessities and go back and make certain improvements in their country. And one good thing about the DACA kids, the children of DACA, that if you have the education and you have the knowledge, in wherever your home country where your parents came from, you could apply that and contribute to something and start a business, a consultant firm, or something to help out the local government. And it would be wise to take the funds and save up and build up and go back to some central safe place, wherever the country where you at, where there's not a lot of violence, where there's not a lot of corruption. But but there's corruption all over the planet. Let's be realistic. It's corruption. Some countries' corruption may not be worse than others, but there's something that can be an improvement. Now, why I mentioned those other countries earlier, because they got some things going on in their country too. So the best plan is to get the education, and since you're bilingual in English, and let's say most of the Latin American countries speak Spanish, right? You can interpret and bring the technology of what you've learned from the United States if you happen to go back, and maybe impart some education into some positions. And when you have the education and structure of business and things, you can help improve situations down there. Now, I know it's not perfect, but if you have something to create a business plan from the education and take whatever you learn from America and go back and, let's say, help out your extended relatives or friends and neighbors down there, that would be the wise thing to do. And that's something that is something like U.S. government, that's what they should do with people that come from over, and make a deal and say, okay, we're going to educate your children just like they do with other nations, but at a certain amount of time that you go back and you fix your home country up, because that's where you're from. And and then maybe you can bring some impartation to some small remote places that don't have the technology and skills to survive. And by you being, your parents being from that country, and you being, bilingual in English and Spanish or whatever country you come from down from that came through to try and get to the border, it is wise to try to go back and at least see what you can upgrade. If that's the case, if Trump decides, let's say in the future, he decides to get something with Daca, and he's saying he's not going to honor it. But even though that America is your country, but your roots is planted on where you came from, and you can take the same knowledge again and contribute something, whether it's in the medical field, it could be construction, it could be something, IT field, and things to upgrade the system down there. It then provide jobs. You have agricultural. See, right now in America, there's fires. In Mexico and in parts of Latin America, the fires haven't gone down there. They haven't reached that far. Right now, America is up under it. But whatever remote places where the virus is at, I would say that would be the best thing to do, is to basically upgrade. And maybe if you create jobs in an economy in some remote place where it can be less corruption, it can go, because that's what some Americans have come down there to do, and remotely, and they're not influenced in your native language when you talk to your parents or your relatives or your friends in Spanish or any other language. This is what you have to communicate. Let's say if your mother or relatives were sent back, you have the skills, and it's just, you get a group of friends to if they can, and take whatever you save and whatever you put in, if you have a savings or something, and you can live off until you get something going on down there. And then if you have something that can contribute to the structural system, I mean, maybe agriculture, because there's certain places in Latin America that there's no fires down there. There's some places in remote places, and yet there's coronaviruses, and but this is where you come in with your skills if you work in the medical field. And sometimes, people from America, if they was gonna go down there and try to help out with people down there with the COVID-19 down there, this is where you come into play, so they can make the transition easier, and maybe, build up a distribution place so they can get supplies down there. But if you fluent in English and Spanish, that's how you got the advantage to help out the people down there. The people, whatever part of Latin America, whatever country in Latin America where you're from, because that's what they need down there. This is what it's really come down to. Especially the people don't have no choice but, and if you have extended relatives that stand down there, this would be the best thing to do. That's if something goes backwards, if Trump decide not to honor DACA, and something was put in the rules that, okay, we're going to educate you, but go back and and you can maybe have a dual citizenship. You can apply for that, but at least go back just in case an elderly relative of yours gets sick, or somebody on a wave scale like that. I'm just giving you some ideas, because right now America, as you see, if you can translate to them, let them know down there that America is hitting a rock solid homeless population. And I know some of your relatives and some of your people, or some people maybe neighbors, that are good at agriculture. But some parts of the West Coast is getting burned up with agriculture. You know, and some of the people that is out there picking the grapes and the fruit, some of them is going to lose their job. So they ain't going to have nothing. So if they have a tendency to go back, what I'm saying is whatever they save up, then they can grow their own vegetables just in case you have to go that route. Because you guys have a better, great advantage. If you go back over, and you don't necessarily go back to town where there's the gangs and stuff like that. There's got to be some part of Mexico or some central country where you can build up a community. Because it's a remote place. There's a lot of remote places probably down there. And this is just something. This is something to blow your mind. This is in case this let's say after the election, and let's say Trump do, and for the Daca people of Daca, if someone ever come across this video, this would be the best solution. If you want to help out your family, your grandmother, grandfather, uncles, aunts, cousins that's still in Latin America, you got an advantage over most people do because you can interpret the technology down into your country. You can help take the technology, especially if you're in the medical field. You can do wonders down there. You can start some kind of business, some kind of transaction. As long as it's medical supplies, you can start a certain service, and that's what would be one of the things would be a good idea to do, because there's some people, if you take enough medical equipment down there and have medical service, that's one, and agricultural, that's two. And if you can, and then those of you that have IT skills, and you put your money together, you can if there was some wealthier Latinas and Latinos, this is what they could do to help out their fellow countrymen, or help another country, and they would employ. And this is what Akon did. Akon did this over in remote parts of Africa. And so what he did was he went to his native, where his parents originally came from, was in Senegalese people, and he started out there and start with other rural areas where he was able to get something and get a grant to get electric in most remote areas and upgrade internet service and everything else, and to catch up with the technology that the other Western nations like the United States and Canada have. Then it's not a language barrier, because now you can explain to your relatives in Spanish on the technology and everything. Those are not very good with or have an up to date with the technology of a computer or anything like that. This is where you come in, and you can teach your people. I mean, I'm just dropping some ideas because it'd be a wise thing to do, just like some other people do. And if I was some people, really, excuse me, that I would, right now America's going through some stuff, and America has lost over 250,000 jobs. You see, Americans is being evicted out of their homes. You got Americans, and this is where you guys have the advantage, because you can go, if you go back and set up in some remote areas in Mexico, maybe outskirts of Guatemala, some outskirts of Ecuador, or any one of those countries, and set up for your people. This can happen, and bring whatever you learn from the States down to that part of the world. So that way you go back and see your relatives, your extended relatives, that who don't speak English too well. And you can interpret the technology. You can interpret certain things. That would be the wise thing to do. That would be the thing to do is basically, and I believe the kids who are from Daca, they have that kind of technology because they've been educated here in the United States. And they're proud of their heritage like any other group of people should. Well, and I'm saying this would be a solution to going back and helping out your people. And particularly, and even if they had to get trained, like to go to a place like Mexico City, whether you from one of the countries in Guatemala, El Salvador, and places like that, you get the technology and understanding in the major cities like Mexico City, or live next to Mexico City, and because they can help you have a good understanding, and then you acquire some skills. So maybe if you can apply for a visa, or the relatives can for a visa, it'd be a process you can go through for some to come out of it. But it's unrealistic to go to any country. You have about probably close to a million people still trying to, probably close to 500,000 to 1 million people trying to cross the border and think they can overthrow the administration of Trump, or trying to come over illegally if they feel bold to. America right now, in places like California, is really going to suffer. And that's where majority of the immigrants is going to. Right now in hotspots like Arizona. Hotspots in California. And the federal government right now, the state government is helping out, but they're going to run out of money. How they going to run out of money is because they got to put out all them fires. Then they got the COVID-19 going on out there. And this is in California. And California is a sanctuary. Some parts of cities in California are a sanctuary city. And in some other places in Midwest and East are sanctuary cities. And they would get there, but even in the midst of it, the people don't understand it. They run into a trap that now you have Americans are homeless. 40 is going to project it. 40 million Americans are going to be homeless. So the immigrants from that country it's some, because there's not going to be no work. Some places ain't going to be no work. So they're going to have a hard time getting a job because they don't know the language too well. And then there are some places, unless you go to places like Idaho and Nebraska, where they'll have to be farmers out there that be able to farm and till they land and do agricultural and things like that. But you see what's happening out there. You got the bad winters here for one. Two, you got those tornadoes that come through out here. And see, you guys as parents' home country, they get bad weather, but it's not like, see, they got a lot of tropical forests and trees able to environment to block all that stuff up out of there. That block things that in America we couldn't have. And so that's why it's so much destruction from the weather and environment. And then we have a drought here too. So we have a drought here, and there's no move of income because people are not paying their rent. So you'll have a lot of people living on the street. And if they live on the street, they're going to be in the same situation that they're down in Mexico. So what I'm suggesting to you, and just take it for the grain of salt, if you have the education and get up with a group of friends and your relatives and go back to some remote part of Mexico or some part of Latin America where if it's possible to kind of get away from the element that drove you up here, and explain to the people that the poverty is hitting going to be greater in the United States, and the housing is locked up. It's going to be locked up. They project in the next couple years. So the housing is locked up. The churches can only handle so much, and the people who are illegally here, they only got so much room. And I know if you check on one of the social media sites or Spanish speaking website, you see that there's a 250,000 more people trying to get up here, trying to get to the United States, thinking that it's going to be, and someone need to go down and tell them. They need to understand what's going on. This is where you come into play. So if you get dual citizenship, this would be the smart thing to do, and go back and help out your home country, because your people are going to need it. There's no sense of running away from the problem, and that's the same thing, because it's the same way that I see some people coming from certain parts of Africa. Yeah, there's some corruption going on, but man, you got companies that coming from China, France, and all these other places that is stepping into Africa, and so they're going to employ some Africans. Then you have Americans coming over to Africa, so you got government contracts. Whether it could be China, it could be France, or whatever countries are still left over there. But the other people from different parts of the African continent should at least step in one of those countries to see if they can learn the customs, learn the language of that. And let's say if someone comes from a French-speaking part of Africa and they go into the English part of Africa, where there could be that you would have to get educated, and they can educate you, bring it into use, and then you'll have a dual language that you can speak English and French, or Portuguese, or German, or whatever those countries. But some should go back to help out and solve the problem. I know that there's some people that can't go back. I understand that there's corruption, there's a lot of violence, there's some instability. But you got people and your relatives back there and it feels like it's home. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some places in Africa, the whole continent of Africa, that they can go to and can avoid all the crazy mess. There's places you can go into the continent and call it home. Why keep going in places that the westernized powers are coming to your country, setting up businesses, and if you want to work with, and you want to be, and some of them people want to be around them, they don't mind being around the Indians. They don't mind being around, and you got someone like that. They don't mind being around the Chinese. They don't mind being around the French, because these people got some income going on. And so, and then you have some people, then you can build up more medical facilities for people to help, because and if you have people that have the education that come to the States, go to England, go to Germany, go to France, the knowledge you can do is to go back and help your people out, go help the village out. And that's what I admire about Akon and many other people that from different celebrities that went back, to go back and open up something, so they can start something, so they can bring them up to date, even if it's some scholarship, some program, and they go to some, and they from the continent, and they from their relatives originate from continent, and they were American citizen. But one of the things I could say about Akon, he was smart that did that, because he knew how America was. Yes, He got educated over it. Yes, he became famous, but what Akon did, he went back, even though it could be some problems over in some countries where his parents are from, but then he went back and solved a solution, because when he got back over to his parents' homeland, he's able to say, okay, one thing that need, and he took his money and his resources and creative ideas, said, well, they need electricity, and he, solar plant. And there's some people who have been educated here, you know how to do that. You've been trained in America. So it's time to go back and help out the people in your country. That's only he did it, and a few other people that did it. And then look at it this way too: is you understand the climate, you understand the culture. There's a different culture in different one country than the other country, but it's pretty much the culture is pretty similar to the same. You're able to have a communication system come together, and that would be the smart thing for some people on the continent to do. Would come with other people who come from different countries in Africa to build and work out some kind of solution that work together. And the ones that came from America, the ones that's in Europe, France, England, take the knowledge and go back and upgrade and help the younger people there to get better advanced, just like the West. But when you run away from something, how is you're leaving your people behind? You know what I'm saying? And so when you go back and take something over from the West, from the United States, France, Italy, one of these countries, take the knowledge that you did and get some resources and a group of people with that resources and help build your people up. And that's the same way it could be in Latin America. And maybe there'll be an American that can help you do that. There's some people that can help some international church or something will help you do something like that. Because the churches, some churches love to go and volunteer and send people over there. So to help solve a solution, whether it's find water to build wells, and bring food, dry food that their stomachs can handle, that the children over there can handle, and things like that. The food would kind of get a kind of environment, because you can't just bring Western food over there, but they have the good idea of what to do. This is a solution to every problem. But in America, you're in America and it's a different climate, for one. Two, is that the food is over here is much different. It's not right. Three, it's the culture. And it's a whole different culture, what you're used to. So, wouldn't it be wise to do that? I'm just saying, wouldn't it be wise to go back and help out your people? And you're proud of your country. I know everybody has a love for their own country. Everybody has their own unique style from your country. Whatever part of Africa, whatever part of Latin America you're from, some parts of Asia. Everybody has their own unique style that maybe you can bring something back from what you learned from a Western country and build up on it from there. If you save up your resources, start a campaign online and get a remotely place and raise money online to help out your people. And you can make money remotely anywhere. And the kids who are what they call the Daca kids, you got that. You have the technology that most people don't have. So you can go back and help out your extended family. You see what I'm saying? That you can go and help and can give you something and help them transition to understand from English to Spanish on technology so they can be self-sufficient and take care of themselves. Just in case they have to stay there. And really, even though it's poverty is high down there, food is running dry, but if you take but agriculture comes in, you can raise the food, because the food here is not really that good. And then you in a country where right now things are being cut off from different countries. They had to put the rigorous regulations with the COVID-19 and all these different things going on. So that's probably putting a damp in it too. Food and agriculture come from a different part of the world. They had to go through a rigorous process at the borders down there and everything. But you guys have had a better chance if to take whatever you learn and apply it. See, there's every solution and every problem. And if you can find and maybe set up a Wi-Fi service down there, you can remote. It might be kind of weak at first, but if they can get some kind of thing to put a tower down there, if it's already not already down there, you can work remotely and raise money up and put on a Spanish speaking website. Those of you who are fluent in mainly English, but and speak Spanish, because you have to communicate with your mom, because your dad don't speak English too well. Your grandma don't speak English too well. Your granduncles don't speak English too well. So you're the interpreter. That's why the parents came over here. But it's nothing like home. It's peace and quiet. And people of one culture. Yeah, do you have some mess going on? Yeah, but you go to some other part of Mexico, Latin America, where there's less corruption and this activity going on. There's got to be some safe place to go that you can be at peace. And this is where you guys have the advantage. That if you get educated here over a certain amount of time, and you put your funds together, and let's say if there's a group of you, and start something to help out your fellow countrymen where your parents came from, I would think they would receive you if you got something to contribute. If you have something to contribute, and then again, you can have maybe somewhere. Maybe they can have the Trump administration have a dual citizenship. Again, that's what Daca kids can do. It's just something that I was just thinking about that, because that's one of the latest things that can happen. And other people in other parts of the world, they come from India, they come from Pakistan, they come from China, some parts of China, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore. They come from other places like that. They come from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Yemen, different places. And Bangladesh, and places like that, where they come over, learn the technology, educated with the technology, and go back and see you can help their system be upgraded, and might get paid good money, because they say, wow, you American, wow, because they got to come at some point figure that, wow, in America, the education system is a little bit better, right? So the kids is much better, and so the people are going to take note of that. Then you got upper advantage better than the people who are native there, if you take whatever you apply and take it back. That's the truth. So that's just something to think about. People never thought about that way. I'm glad I'm probably one of the first people that come with the solution to the Daca problem. But if they do have to go, be prepared, if it's possible, with your skills and with some funding come together, and people will support you. Trust me. They're saying people was out there fighting, they'll support that. Oh yeah, some Americans gonna support that. Some people that stood behind and protest the Homeland Security and the Border Patrol comes in. Some of the same people was for that, they would support that. You might have some dollars come back down there, and basically take it and go to a remote place and no one has to know. This is word of mouth. This is one of the things that can happen. And I think that something with the Trump administration can do that. But you apply for you have to apply for dual citizenship. You have to probably reapply in order, since you've been educated here. Then that way you can come back, and therefore it plays in your favor. So next time they can't kick you out and say, well yeah, I'm a still dual citizen, and Washington and the places would have to make circumstances and bring you back because you're a citizen that have, and the longest, is for different individuals, like for medical, construction, and agricultural, and things like that. It ain't gonna be no problem. Oh, nice. It ain't gonna be no problem whatsoever. So that would be my advice. That the best thing to do is go that route. If you're a Daca person, if that happened to have if that happened to go that direction, because who knows? And it's just something to think about. Sometimes the way to solve a solution to a problem is, okay, if this rise up, then do this. This rise up, then this can probably play out. And again, you can raise something remotely for your village, for the village of where your grandmother or uncle, where they raised that, and the whole village people, and build a well, make water, sanitation wise, agriculture, food, medical, because that's one of the things down there. And it could be it can play in your advantage. And I think that's the best thing to do. If push come to shove, if they try to push you out the United States or whatever, if you got to go with and if your parents or relatives or friends there, you could join with them. And if hopefully they will take your laptop and computer, and like I said, if they have some kind of Wi-Fi system down there, you can build up down there. It can work, because they try and do that all over the world anyway. I mean, they're trying to put these Wi-Fi towers all over. So the technology is going somehow, somebody, if they ain't doing it right now, even in Latin America, they're going, and even some remote places, they're going to want to do that. So, because they just want everything to be whatever country, no matter how big, how small it is. Trust me, some company going down there, and all they have to do is get a permit from the land, or they see that the government, they come down and negotiate and say, hey, we can speed up the local citizens and how to keep stay with friends and relatives online and things like that. And some places where it's not. And then, you have people come down there and they can agricultural food, bringing things that they can plant to sustain in the earth, and dig up wells and for water. Because even in America, we going back to those, we head back to those times. So we're gonna literally be living off the land. So if the people, like they do here, is in poverty, even though it's extreme poverty down there, totally get it. But they'll be able to survive, where some people here can't survive. And that's where the people, where your parents or your relatives come from. They have a greater advantage than most Americans, because most Americans are too technology-wise. The Western, not just Americans, but other Western, they're too technology. And see, the people that came up here, they know how to do it. They know how to survive. They know how to make things go, because before they came, and some came illegally over the border, they knew how to survive. And we're going back towards that time. And you need land and stuff to crop your food and things like that. Then you can build material from the earth to make houses and stuff. And we head into that direction. And we can't get, because steel is getting limited. I'm painting the whole scenario. Sometimes the people in poor nations have a greater advantage than that, if they've been living like this for hundreds and thousands of years, because we're slowly going in that direction. That we literally have to live off the land and technology. So it's something to think about. Not all things could be bad. And it's not that being pushed out, it seemed like that, but wouldn't it be wise? Because you might have relatives that's still down there in different parts of the world, and friends, and your mother's friends, and father's friends, and uncles, and brothers, and have a brother still down there, and he's trying to survive, but he don't have the technology and don't know too much what's going on. But those who've been educated with the American system can go down and educate the people down there, and they're like, wow, and show them how it's done, and you can make a go of it, just like you did up here. It's amazing what people can do, and we all pretty much, even the westernized countries like America is slowly heading that direction. And the people who are already living off there's people that's living off the land, that have bought acres, they have a greater advantage too, because they're not relying on things to technology. They know how to make things go. Some people know how to build up a log cabin and hunt animals and plant life and things like that. Know how to survive. Know where, if there's a creek around, know how to bathe and keep yourself clean to live off the land. That's the truth. So, when you come from that part of the world, you have a greater advantage to do that. So, if you're here, because right now the government here is not going. It's going to run out of money. It's going to eventually run out of money. Medical care, because they got too much going on. Like I said, places like California, they can't take care of every person illegally and give them, and what is going to hit something. Then you have the coronavirus out there. Let's say places like Arizona, California, Oregon, and places like that. You got the coronavirus is out there, right? So that's taking people out. You have a serious drought condition out there that causes, it's from the heat, extremely heat, over 100 something degree heat. Then you have certain amount of like I said, people getting evicted out of their homes. So therefore, you out there, these people coming up trying to come over here, and they sharing millions of dollars, but the millions of dollars are being drained because they can't help everybody, and particularly in those western states, because he always say that the federal government ain't gonna be able to help because they was a sanctuary city. So pretty much, the small business owners and other places like people out there are running on borrowed time. Some businesses out there in the West Coast, like it is here in the Midwest and East, had to close because of the pandemic. So really, it's best wherever the people at stay where they at. Because America is going to slide into the condition like the western parts of the world. And we picking up ways like Cuba is doing. We picking up ways, and this is where people who come from places that has socialism, countries like Cuba, China, Russia, and some other European countries, they know this. In America, it's slowly heading that direction because the government pays for something, and the government can tell you what to do. You're not going to have so much freedom. It's going to be just like if the government got to pay, everything's going to be backed up and wait, just like in the countries of where they're originally from, like Cuba and Russia and these different other countries that have socialist. It's communism. I'm sorry, communism. Then you have one country that's social, and it wasn't so good. So because when it comes to medical care and other stuff, relying on food for the government and all these other necessities and stuff, it wasn't that good. But in other neighboring countries, in Latin America is pretty big. I mean you have I know Brazil have a lot of people. If you speak Portuguese, some places speak Spanish. Then you have places like Argentina, some beautiful places. You got some places like Chile, Ecuador, and Nicaragua. That's kind of, but you have richer Spanish-speaking countries that you might have to. The lingo might be different in Spanish from what I understood because I've been around people from different. I went to church with different people from different parts of Latin America. But if you can make it down there and become a citizen down there, that's even better. Even yet, it's closer to the country. It's not too far from the country or coming all the way to the States. I'm just saying. Number two thing, it had to be a struggle for people that come from a different part of the country who they migrate to a country and they really can't properly communicate. That could be a problem. And because if you can't speak a word of English, it's going to take a hell of a time to try to find somebody who can interpret whatever you're trying to tell the main people, because most people, they have a lot of people now walking around with a translator. You know what I'm saying? Okay, translate this. A lot of people are not going to walk around with that. And it depends on what part of America you go to. They're not going to be, so if they don't have a translator there and you get sick or whatever, or you need some assistance or something going on with your child, how are you supposed to communicate? See, this is what a lot of these people, some of these immigrants don't think about that. How are they going to communicate to the public when you can't speak, majority can't speak the language? You got to understand, it's like if I come to one of those countries out there, if I'm going to migrate to one of those countries, let's say if I migrate to Brazil or migrate to Argentina, if I'm going to live down there and be among the people, I'm going to have to, even though it's going to be okay for the first year, because I'm an American living up down there. But eventually, I'm going to have to understand their language, their lingo, their culture. That's the fact. And they're not entitled to learn minds. I'm entitled because it's their land and it's their people. The majority of people speak that language down there. And you have people that come here that really, I mean, that's why I think it's best to go to Mexico City or someplace in between to learn to speak English. So when they come over, they're able to being able to interpret, because some people don't have patience here in America if you speak a foreign language. And they ain't got time to sit there and have the patience. I'm gonna be honest with you. And it would be the same way if I had to come over there. Because I mean, I had to. If I'm going to live in Latin America, I'm going to at some point got to speak some Spanish. I mean, how I'm going to go down there and I have to. And I teach my kid English, but he knows Spanish. He got translated from Spanish to, I mean, it's because the kid is taught that language. And so you got, what your teacher say? I mean, you saying this in your language to them, and your teacher don't understand your language. Could be something going on with your child. So it just be smart to learn the language before you get to the designated country. A lot of immigrants don't do this. So if someone come from America, they need to teach them, or from Western nation, how to speak or survive, speak the language. Same with the American, we have to go over there. We have to learn. If I'm going, let's say if I was living and I had a family, whatever, and I left America, and I went to Colombia, if I went to Brazil, if I went to Argentina, I'm going to have to learn. That's first maybe 6 months to a week, I'm going to have to really pick up on some things real quick. The laws, set of rules, the way they do things down there. And I can't just have my kid translating. You're going to have to translate in order to communicate with something. If it's a medical reason, if it's a security reason as far as police, if it's something dealing with housing or something like that. I'm just saying. And hopefully you run into someone that speaks the language. But if you have some kind of medical problem and you don't speak the language, you're screwed. Your child might have some kind of issue going on. You're screwed. That's why people who come to this country who don't speak the language, they need to think about that. And some of us need to think about that when we go to their country too. Because something happened to you, you don't know what's going on. That could be your behind over there. And they don't understand. Not a lot of people is English speaking countries. There are some people, and you better pray that they do. But it's like, you know what? Can anybody speak English or something like that? And you're screwed. And you better hope that the person you're dealing with ain't a shyster, because they figure that you a Westerner they know you don't know the language, and so they're gonna try to take advantage of you. So you got something, and that's something to think about. That's why it's good to study and learn the language down. And this is what I admire about some people. They come over here, but they know enough. So if something jump down with the job, kids' education, the medical, or dealing with anything, dealing with people at the store, everyday, whatever, they know. Because some people majority of people are not going to speak that language. You know what? And they had to find an interpreter. And then it's so bad that there were some people in parts of Latin America that don't even speak Spanish. One time I saw a case like this, that he come from some part of it was down in Guatemala somewhere where he from this one particular man came up through America. It took a long ass time to find a translator because the person who they translate it was called Guatemala. I feel like they would speak Spanish, but the person who speaks Spanish, I can't communicate with him because he don't speak Spanish. He's from another tribe. Just happened. In fact, I forgot it was a case like that a long time ago. So it's very important, and that's for anybody to go in any part of the world. If I go to Germany and France or whatever, I gotta speak their language. If it's outside, unless it's someplace like England, I got to understand their language, Switzerland or whatever, and I better learn their language. There might be a few educated people, but most of the people in that country is going to speak that language. They're not going to speak English. That's a fact. And they're not entitled to learn your language. You need them. You come to their land. You immigrate to their land. So you have to learn their ways. And it's the same way. People are not entitled to learn about you. You got to learn their language, their ways of custom. Because they're controlling the resources. They're controlling the 5-6 things that order to sustain living. Housing, medical, education, environment, political, and so on. So if you don't know these things, you can be screwed. Be caught up in something and be in a whole world of trouble. Just something to think about. See, some people, they need to think about that when they leave their country. And when an American goes to their country, they need to think about that too. That it's one thing to visit for a certain amount of time, and people may be patient with you, but after a while, you have to watch. Because if you don't pick up their language and their lingo, it could be a pretty bad day. So it's something for people to think about. But I thought that would be an interesting topic to talk about. And this is concerning with the children of immigrants who are on that Daca program. And if Trump decides to pull it, or something where there's a possibility you have to go back. Think about, like I was saying earlier, you have advantage over other people, and you can bring whatever you learn and save your money and take your technology and able to create something over there. This time you have technology to create, just like an agricultural person can create things out of the ground. You can create things because you're that generation that can help out the next generation, and including the previous generations. That's something to think about. And I know it's easier said than done, because you may not specifically have to go back to that part or remote of the country where the gangs or something like that, or whatever unstableness, but there could be another place that is not too corrupt. And really, the American companies are coming down there, to be honest with you. And other companies is too, because they don't want to play the union dues and union stuff here that they do in Europe and in America. The work is hard, it's honest, it's enough. They're probably gonna pay you enough to make a living on the country standard, but at least but see, they're cutting the union jobs here. So if I was you, I'd tell your people that America is about to go slide downhill faster. So it's going to be probably here just as well as in other country. It's coming to that point. Just look around you. All right, Till next time, you guys have a good one. And to those DACA, show no DACA, think about what I'm saying. Take care.